couldn't care less about others during pandemic, Scary would get the prize.
Oh, come on, man. That's not true.
But
that's not true.
No, it is the After Party podcast. It used to be the 15-minute morning show podcast, but we never did 15 minutes, so why call it that? Yeah. But we're here. There's Danielle, and there's Scary, and there's Scotty B in the Serial Killers podcast room. There's Gandhi, and I see Straight Nate, and Garrett is here. And let's go. Let's get rolling. By the way, I love it when people bring leftovers from the night before in here for the morning and show, and you share. Like today, Gandhi brought this Indian food she had yesterday. Oh my God, how great was that?
It was delicious. I brought chicken biryani, and I brought it in because I know Diamond likes to eat it, and Andrew, when he's here, he likes it too. So I brought it for everybody. Did someone complain?
No,
oh, okay.
But it did make me think about Scotty. Scotty B always looks out for you. And if he goes to the local Indian market, or if he sees anything at the grocery store that's Indian food related, he brings it to you.
He does.
But he serves it like a shit sandwich in a way.
He does.
Well, she likes the samosas at this one market that I go to. So anytime I go, I pick them up for her.
That's nice of you. Mm-hmm. But there's always a but.
Yeah.
Yeah, he usually tosses the bag at me, and he's like, "Here's your shitty, disgusting, whatever the fuck this smell is. I hate it."
Well, I had to triple bag them. It was coming. The oil was coming through the brown bag and was getting in my refrigerator, and it stunk. So I had to triple bag it.
Oh God, I know, but it's such a nice gesture.
Yeah.
You know that's her culture, that's her background, that's her favorite food, that's her jam, and you're like, here's a bag of crap that I don't like.
Yeah.
And I don't want it anywhere near me. Enjoy.
Yes, every time. It's like the sweetest, rudest thing ever. I don't even know how to explain it.
And I will continue to get them for you.
See?
Yeah. And you'll continue to complain about it.
I will.
Yeah.
Yep.
Love
then
you,
what's
Scotty.
the point? I mean, it's a great deed you're doing, but...
Oh, because I love Gandhi, and I just like to fuck with her anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
I
that's
think he
what
just
it's
likes
all
to
about.
come visit.
Mm-hmm. Right. You know, on the show this morning, we were talking about this article that Gandhi found in the New York Times, a scientist, watching trending things from our life from COVID to now, how life changed for a lot of us. We learned a lot of stuff, especially from science point of view anyway. What about you guys? How is life different now? What was changed forever, if you can identify it? A lot of things we won't be able to identify. It's just, I don't know. I don't think we can identify.
I got
but
divorced.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. That happened a lot, though.
What's that?
That happened a lot with a lot of people.
Well, let's talk about that. Because of being stuck with each other and not having the freedom to run away, do you have a lot of people in your circles that are no longer together, and it's really specifically probably COVID's fault?
Yeah.
I think COVID just pushed it over the edge. I think everybody has their issues.
Yeah.
But COVID really just made it worse. So
right,
there was that.
Being stuck with people you don't want to be stuck with.
Yep.
Did you have anyone in your circles who was actually stuck with someone they had just met? And they decided,
Oh,
okay,
yes.
well.
Wait, remember we knew that person? They had just met. They were stuck together. They wound up getting pregnant, having the baby, I don't know if they got married or almost married. And then once COVID and went away and the world opened up, everything changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
COVID babies.
it's true.
Yeah.
I have some really dear friends that are no longer together. But they were really, really solidifying their relationship because of COVID, because they were with each other and they got to know each other a little better. And then they decided to have a life together. And then now COVID's over, it's back to reality. And it's a sad thing,
Yeah. I had a buddy that was dating somebody in January of 2020. They broke up in January of 2020. She still hadn't moved out yet. And then COVID hit. And then they got stuck in the same house.
Oh.
So one of them is living in the bedroom and working out of the bedroom. The other one is in the living room. And that's how they existed for about 6 months until somebody could move out. And
Wow.
Well, we were living different lives. I mean, it was a whole different life than life before and life after, because I had friends that they moved in with each other just for the COVID. And then when the COVID was over, it ended.
Yeah.
And now they went on their own way. Yeah. But that's definitely a chapter in our lives that will be probably one of the most important factors of our life, or chapters of our lives, I think.
Yeah.
Wow.
I feel like
Crazy.
I really learned, because I think, and we've talked about this before, if you could wish for something, a lot of people would just wish they had more time. And we kind of got that in a very weird way. You had time, it was restricted time, but you still had time. What did you do with it? And we really got to see how people would handle sort of like a lack of structure. And what would go on? Some people did nothing and they just sat around all day, or they gained a bunch of weight because all they did was eat. Some people got in crazy, amazing shape. I started painting and we started that business that way. I realized that I needed pets around me, so I went and got a fish tank, like plants. It was a fascinating experiment, or I guess experience.
There's a little regret here, even though I don't like to regret anything. I regret not shifting into some new lane during COVID. Because while I was in COVID, I kept thinking it was about to end. I kept thinking, well, back to normal any day now. And, 2 years in, is that how long we were locked
we were
locked
close
down?
to 2 years before we all came back,
I felt like it was so hard for my mom because my dad had just passed away a couple of months before. So she was already like in that, being very sad. And then she cut out everybody and was home by herself. And so her mental state was like, not in the greatest place because she was so lonely, and dad wasn't there anymore. And it was a lot,
I have a room full of crossword puzzles I never opened up. Let's see. I did some tie-dye.
Yeah.
That lasted a minute.
Baking. You still have your sourdough starter?
Baking. Yeah, absolutely.
How much banana bread did you make?
bread.
I made so much banana bread.
Enough. It was just enough. Our friends that live across the street from us, they were with their son and their daughter, so it was 4 of them and the dog. And they had, once a week, they had formal dinner parties for themselves.
Wow.
The father would wear a bow tie and a tux. I mean, they would light the
that's so
candles.
cool.
Well, yeah, you would try to find these things. We've got this time. Let's try to do something unique. And they did that, for 2 years.
Question for everybody here. Knowing what you know now about the pandemic and how you squandered the time, would you make the most of another pandemic? If
I would hope
another
so.
pandemic hit in a week,
Yeah.
for
what
sure.
would you do differently?
I'd buy 17 houses. Every house
Yeah.
I could
Yeah,
buy.
exactly.
Buy it now because
That's
those interest rates were so low.
Yeah.
And now it's like you'll never get a house
Yeah.
ever again.
Right. That's a very good point. Knowing where you can go to escape, I guess, is another way of putting that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
A
I
lot
knew
of
it was
people-
coming, I'd like to rent like a log cabin somewhere and like take the whole family and we just
Exactly.
all hunker down together,
Well, and look what COVID did to property prices in the suburbs and the rural areas outside of the big cities.
Yep.
How many people do we know that actually bought houses upstate New York, places they've never been to before,
Yeah.
Touch
and
it
they
now.
bought them all? Now those houses are worth
Forget it.
triple.
The
Forget
thing
it.
Scotty and Skiri and I regret is we didn't film anything.
Yeah.
We were coming into this desolate.
Wow.
And when I say desolate, Manhattan was desolate.
It was so
was
desolate
frightening.
that you were able to have a full football game in the middle of 6th Avenue and not be interrupted.
Yeah.
That's how there was never cars coming. And that's like
So
a
crazy.
5-lane wide street.
I think
It was wild.
I'll have to look for the picture, but I think it was 3 or 4 days after the pandemic started. I went to your office, Elvis, which overlooked Canal and 6th Avenue, which, if you know, that is a massively busy intersection. That's right where the Holland Tunnel empties. And I stood there for 3 minutes. Not one person walked by, not one car drove
That's
by.
crazy.
Wow.
For 3 minutes at 8 a.m. on a weekday morning.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
Insane. But then you saw a lot of people who were totally directionless and out of their minds,
yeah.
walking
Yeah.
around not knowing where they should be.
Then they came out
It-
of the woodwork. Yeah.
It was definitely, you felt like you were on a set and these were all actors, but they weren't. and it
Remember
wasn't.
drive-by birthday parties? Like
Oh,
that
yeah.
was the first. Like I remember my kids' birthdays. Like you decorated the cars, and then an email went out. Everybody got in line and met at a specific place, and you drove by the person's house, beeping the horn, the confetti out of the car.
And if you were lucky, you got a
balloons.
fire truck to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh, did any of you do something? And at the time, if you let anyone else know you were doing it, you'd get into trouble or people would chastise you?
Oh.
The
Yeah.
unsafe practices?
Yes.
Like
Do you-
other than scary, going to nightclubs that were like in basements in Brooklyn?
Do
Speakeasy.
you remember when we first started, when we were here, and I was able to get a couple of N95 masks from my friend at the hardware store, and people were going bananas because those were only for doctors. How dare you?
Because the
Remember
three
that?
of us wore them in some social media clip,
That's right.
and people just went off on us. How dare you give those to the emergency workers that actually need them?
Well, I'm talking about doing
yeah,
the
remember
sneaky
that?
stuff.
Yeah.
Like sneaking out and hanging out with people in, like, in a room with doors that were closed. Oh, God.
Or like, what about the people who jumped the vaccine line? You remember how it rolled out to certain tiers of people first, but then we all knew some super like wealthy people or politicians who, how'd you get the vaccine so fast? Oh, you knew somebody?
I did that.
That happened a lot.
I did that.
Remember when I first got
Scotty did it. I think everybody did it.
I did it too. Remember, I wouldn't say anything. And I asked you, Elvis. I go, Elvis, is it okay if I say I got the vaccine? I don't know if I should say it. Remember, you said, I think it's okay. I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't say it.
I don't know.
Well, because iHeart gave us these little emergency cards that meant absolutely nothing. And I went to the line at Jones Beach. I said, I'm first responder. You know, and I showed the card because it said emergency response or something on it. And they were like, all right, front of the line.
Yeah, that card was supposed to get us through the tunnel. Like there were supposed to be like army people like blocking the tunnel and.
I remember the first time I felt like I was doing wrong. We had some friends over for dinner and we sat at a table together. But I remember at that moment I'm thinking, oh God, if anyone finds out we're doing this, we're sunk. You know? Because there are a lot of people who would just hyper judge you. And you would watch them hyper judge other people, so you wouldn't dare tell them
Well, if it got
what
out,
you were doing.
people would tear you to shreds. Absolute shreds people would tear you to. How dare you?
I remember we got a box of wine before COVID became, official. And once we got it, it came from Rochester, New York, which was like at the time like the hotbed of where COVID was starting. So I remember my wife Allie, she Cloroxed the box, not even open the box, just the box itself, and put it in the shed for 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh!
So it stood in there for 2 weeks before anything else.
And do you remember what I posted? I posted a picture of me taking in an Amazon box, and I was so excited because it was filled with Lysol and wipes. And I posted it, and people wrote, "You're supposed to sanitize that box before you bring it inside. What are you, crazy? You're poisoning your I deleted the post. I was like, I am not listening to this shit. So
Karen's actually made their huge stage showing during COVID.
So aside from
everyone had
sitting
to yell
down
at them.
at night, I was so bored at my house because remember, I live alone. My friends and I would plan these barbecues, and we would go to my friend's house in an alleyway outside when no one was looking, and we would all sit there and it was the middle of the summer, man, and we would just every day we would grill and we would just hang out and drink and eat. And I know we weren't supposed to be doing that.
And that's where you got it.
We knew it.
But I lived alone. No, but the thing is, I came home to myself.
You know how many times?
And I was never
how many times Scotty and I would text each other on the way in. Did you see Scary's story? Stay away from him.
Yeah.
At one day, we did go down the Jersey Shore, a bunch of us, and there was this one place that allowed us to use their pool, and it was open, and they had a DJ spinning. So I went, but it was outside.
Look, I mean, to close this out, I mean, and to your point, we were all looking for some naughty thing to do so we could try to feel somewhat normal. And here we are. So when the next one hits, we need to come up with a prepared list. Like we need 17 houses that we can all trade with each other. I don't know.
I think if there's ever a zombie apocalypse, we have to kill Scary immediately because he will hide the bite.
Oh, forget it.
He'll hide the bite, and then he'll turn around and he'll infect all. He'll bite us all.
I call Santa Fe House.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I think if you had to pick the one person that couldn't care less about others during pandemic, Scary would get the prize.
Oh, come on, man, that's not true.
But that's not true.
No,
it holds true today.
The most complaints came in about you.
Yes. That is true.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But we still love you. We got to get out of here. It's enough of the after party. What a fun day.